Hi, I'm Scott Holland from Google Cloud. I'm really excited for you to join us in our session today, where we're going to talk about how to unlock your data with API-first integration using Apigee. I'm joined today by Ines Holman from ATB Financial.
Hey, Scott, looking forward to it.
Let's review the agenda for our session. We're going to talk about connected experiences with data and applications, ATB Financial's integration story, API-first integration and why that is the right approach, and then we'll have a demo. We live in the age of connected experiences. I'm pretty sure that sometime this morning, you've touched APIs at multiple levels already. Maybe you were catching up on the news or the weather. Maybe you were checking traffic on your drive into work. Maybe you ordered coffee from your local coffee shop. All of these connected experiences are powered by APIs. We're in the age of connected experiences at multiple levels today. Data happens to be the key enabler for these connected experiences. Data is what will ultimately enable the experience, but it is siloed and locked away in systems of record. The natural tendency is to base the API design on the shape of the data in those systems of record. But that doesn't always match the connected experience that your user needs. So to get those connected experiences we discussed, we need to think first about developing the right API for the right experience, API first. The pace of change for these innovative experiences is desired in weeks, not quarters. APIs help you to bridge the gap. Systems of record have taken years to develop and operate, and they have your most valuable data inside them. Connected experiences expect you to build apps in days. APIs bridge the gap and enable the connected experience from the data in the systems of record through a clean, experience-based API. Starting with the API first can help you change the pace of innovation. Next up, Ines is going to share with us ATB Financial's integration story. Welcome, Ines.
Hi, I'm Ines Holman, and I'm the VP of Technology and Strategy at ATB Financial. And I'm really excited to tell you about our API-first integration experience. I'll start off with a brief overview of ATB Financial, who we are and what we're all about. Then I'll move on to ATB's integration journey. And finally, I'll summarize with a few key takeaways that may be useful to you as you embark on your own path. Let's get started. ATB is an Alberta-based bank here in Canada, and we've been in business for over 80 years. In that time, we've grown and changed from a single treasury branch to the largest Alberta-based financial institution with assets of more than 55 billion. At ATB, technology is unequivocally a strategic enabler. It underpins and fuels our client-centric products and services. Our purpose is that we exist to make it possible in the lives and livelihoods of our clients. Our strategic partnership with Google has helped accelerate our progress towards our purpose. As examples at ATB, all GCP application development is containerized and running in Google Kubernetes Engine or App Engine. ATB's data enablement platform is centralized around Google BigQuery, augmented by Google's data services, Dataflow, Cloud Storage, and Composer as examples. Additionally, ATB leverages Google Infrastructure as a Service to support our migration from on-premise to cloud. Clearly, Google is a key enabler of our future technology strategy. But let's take a look at that strategy. At ATB, we took an outside-in approach. We started with our 10-year business strategy that has 5 strategic pillars. All of these business strategies are focused on shifting our services and our service model to put our clients at the center of everything we do and to take ownership of delivering truly remarkable experiences. Our technology strategy is anchored in the 10-year business strategy and informed by the client and team member journeys. It has 5 components. First, the digital presence and marketplace strategy, which is focused on supporting digitization of banking and providing additional capabilities to facilitate marketplace interplay. The banking strategy is centered on maintaining safe, secure, reliable banking services and systems throughout our cloud migration, as well as optimizing performance. And the data and AI strategy will provide insights and analytics that may be served directly to clients or combined with the expertise of our ATB team members. The cybersecurity strategy undertakes to proactively address both current and future cyber threats. And last but not least, our integration strategy, which is focused on defining and delivering a modern integration capability. ATB's current integration architecture is a prototypical hybrid environment with one foot in the cloud and one foot on-premise. On-premise, we have a myriad of heritage integrations performed through traditional means, such as message queuing and the ESB. In the Google Cloud, newer REST APIs and digital channels are deployed for both data and AI and digital channels in GKE to bridge between legacy and modern applications. And currently we use our API gateway only for a few specific use cases. We have a number of initiatives underway to improve our integration maturity. Initially, our goal is to leverage our API gateway for all of our internal API consumption by our digital channels. AI and insights from the data lake will also be exposed via APIs to our digital channels. In our target state, once most of our ATB systems have been migrated to the cloud, our API gateway will become our proxy for access to and from most of our third parties. In this context, we anticipate that our gateway will be used to monetize APIs as products, enabling ATB to establish a marketplace or participate in others' marketplaces. Ultimately, a modern integration platform will be introduced to replace traditional orchestration capabilities and support low-code and no-code integrations. To summarize, there are three key takeaways. First, Apigee provides ATB's API hub. And by that, we mean the registry of all of our APIs that would encourage use and reuse of those APIs, as well as management and monitoring throughout their life cycle. Second, data and integration unlocking value. Data is fast becoming the new currency of financial services. Underpinning most value creation is high quality data and robust integration as an essential entry point. And lastly, APIs as products. APIs have changed from a method of integration to products in and of themselves. An API can be monetized directly when an API is consumed by a customer who's willing to pay for it, or indirectly when APIs act as service brokers, redirecting traffic towards ATB. In the context of the financial services disruption that's underway, we believe our investment in an API-first integration strategy is positioning ATB well for the future. Thank you again for your time today and for allowing me to share a bit about our integration journey. Back to you, Scott.
Thank you so much, Ines. That's such a wonderful story. Now let's jump into API-first integration and why that is the right approach. So what do we mean when we say API-first? It's all about delivering the right experience to the user. If we look at the value chain here on the bottom, API first means that you start on the left with the user, their user journeys, their use cases, and you work towards the right. You start with what the connected experience needs, and then you design the API, and then you figure out how to get the data from the back end. It's all about API products that deliver value based on the user journeys. We have developers using Apigee to create APIs today, and we have consistently heard from them that they need help to extend the API fabric to integrate with more data. An API-first approach will help your developers to save time because they won't have to mash up data from multiple APIs based on data structures that are in these systems of records. They'll have an API that's already designed to meet their needs. They can focus on application experiences, not complex APIs. This accelerates developer velocity. While creating APIs based on the data using an inside-out approach might seem easier for the API developer, it's actually going to create a lot more work for the connected experience developers. They're going to have to navigate through complex APIs to mine the data that they actually need. Using an API-first approach will enable the multiple devices and platform applications to get to market faster because they'll have the right API that's been created for them from the very beginning. This increases speed to market. Finally, because the API-first approach meets the needs of connected experience upfront, not only will time be saved and cost reduced, but risk will also be reduced. And the connected experience will have a much higher chance of having increased adoption. We've recently launched Apigee integration to help customers extend the API fabric even better for API-first integration. It's a unified platform. So you have one interface, one product to do API management or to do integration. This makes it easier for existing Apigee users to create new APIs, and it invites integration developers and architects to meet business needs with an API-oriented solution. It's a purpose-built runtime. The workload processing of integration flows are very different by nature from API gateway and API management needs. Google builds a lot of APIs, but we also require a lot of APIs from other systems. So we built a product, a solution for our enterprise so that we could take on this challenge. We're making that solution available to our customers now. Building that integration runtime meant that we had to address a lot of different complex patterns. We have long-running flows, we have asynchronous processes, we have complex orchestrations that do multiple service callouts to other systems, and we have data mapping requirements. We're also introducing connectors that makes it easier to integrate with backend systems. So this purpose-built runtime has been optimized for integration workloads that have characteristics that are very different than API workloads. We react to events, we can be long-running, have complex orchestrations, all those things I mentioned on the last slide. It's a proven technology at Google scale, and we use it to power the integration workloads for our own Google business. It's based on cloud native architecture. It's been built from the ground up to be cloud native with containerized operations on Kubernetes, microservice based. It's built in auto scaling. It has the same architecture whether you're in the cloud or you're hybrid. So with this unified platform, you can have one interface to author APIs or to author integrations. And that's a lower learning curve for your developer staff. It enables an outside-in approach. So this whole API-first approach that we've been talking about is very natural in a product that supports both APIs and integration with connectors to backend systems. This gives you the power to connect to data and bring that innovation to the connected experience. Now let's take an architect's view of the platform. As you can see, we've added integration as a feature to the Apigee platform. Moving from left to right, you can implement API first, get all the benefits of API management from Apigee, and then use integration inside that same Apigee to extend the API fabric to the data in the systems of record. The new Apigee integration feature comes with a low-code integration designer. You can easily drag and drop to create your integrations. We have triggers through which integrations are invoked. And we have tasks like data mapper, we have looping constructs, approvals, and connectors. The data mapping editor presents an intuitive drag and drop design so that you can craft your data transformations between inputs and outputs, and you can accommodate different types and formats like JSON, and you can very quickly add functions to your mapping transformation rules. There's built-in monitoring so that you can look at and keep track of the health of your integrations. Now let's switch over to a demo of Apigee integration.
Let's look at an example integration that exposes the CRUD operations from a database as a REST API. Here I'm using an API trigger. There are different triggers available. You can also trigger based on Cloud Pub Sub, based on a schedule, or based on an event in Salesforce. Once the integration is triggered, I'm doing a data mapping. That allows me to take the input variables and map them to the output variables. I can also apply functions to change the data as needed before mapping to the output variables. Once the data is mapped, I've set up some conditional logic to map the REST operations, put, post, get, and delete, into the database operations. For example, the put operation gets mapped into a database update. If it's a post operation, it gets mapped into an insert operation. Then I invoke the appropriate task. In this case, I'm executing an insert row into Cloud SQL task. I'll take the input variables and map them into the appropriate columns in the database. That's all defined here. The database instance and the authentication profile to talk to it are defined here. Next, let's see how we execute this by calling the API. Here's a sample proxy for processing orders. The target endpoint is to the integration endpoint. There's a shared flow that gets a token for authentication. In the target endpoint, there's an assigned message policy. That sets the payload that's required by the integration. I'll need to define the name, the trigger ID, and any parameters that should be passed on. In this case, I'm passing the HTTP method, which will be get, post, put, or delete. And then I'll pass in the payload that was sent with the request. The integration service will be called, and the workflow we saw previously will run. Let's connect to the database and see how it looks before I call the API. It looks like there are 5 rows in the order table in the database. I've opened up a new window here. I'll use a curl command to call the API. This will make a post call and pass in some data. I'll set the order ID to 99999 so we can find it later. I got back the response I was expecting. If I go back to the other window, I can run the database query and we'll see how the database was updated. If I go back to the order integration, I can go to the logs and we can see a detailed view of everything that's going on. I can see the request parameters that were passed in. There's the payload and the order ID of 99999. I can see the data mapping and how every field was mapped. I see the insertion into the database and the response parameters that were sent back to the client. So that's a quick look at how you can call a database. Now let's look at how you can use the Salesforce Trigger. This gets triggered when an opportunity is created in Salesforce. The goal here in the end is to call an API, and that API will allocate the right resources for high-value opportunities. If I step through, first I have a Salesforce Trigger that's monitoring the opportunity channel for opportunities that are created. Next, there's data mapping. Here I map the amount property that comes out of Salesforce into an opportunity amount variable. That opportunity amount variable is used to decide if approval is required. If the opportunity amount exceeds $100,000, it routes for approval. In this case, I'm doing a simple email approval. When that's successful, I'll call the REST endpoint that triggers the downstream process. So let's see it in action. Okay, so let's create the opportunity. And I'll exceed that $100,000 threshold. Now, if I go back into the opportunity sync integration, I can look at the logs and see what's happening. I've got this suspended execution right here, and it shows me that the data was mapped, and I can see that it pulled out the opportunity amount of $125,000. And that caused the triggering of this approval step, which is currently suspended. So I'll go to my email and I'll check it out. I received new email asking me to approve the request. And now I can approve or reject it. I'll approve it. And let's go back to the opportunity sync and refresh the logs. And you can see that based on that approval, it did route to that REST endpoint at the end. In the background, I had Apigee running to receive that webhook and process it. And you can see it right here. And if we look in the request, I'll see the Salesforce payload data has been passed along so I can do my downstream processing. That's a quick overview of the types of eventing integrations that you can build. Thanks for watching.
I hope you enjoyed that demo. Here are some other sessions that you might find interesting, which are related to our Apigee and AppSheet products. A big thanks again to Ines for sharing the ATB financial story. And thank you all for joining us, and all the best on your API first integration journey, and enjoy the rest of Google Next.